The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
To say after video distorting the belt, they're proclaiming the real world champion. I'm going to tell you all with a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life. When you walk around this world and you tell everybody you're number one, the only way you get to stay number one is to be number one.
Woo! Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network, powered up by the Belly Up Sports Network of podcasts. Sit back and enjoy as we bring you the latest and greatest in the world of sports, everything from the Detroit Lions to the state of Michigan sports to around the country and around the world. So what are you waiting for? Let's get out there and let's watch the latest edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome indeed to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. You can check us out there. Subscribe to our network there, as we've got all of our shows here. The Captain Lou Extravaganza. We've got a replay of a Aquinas College hockey game that we did there a couple of weeks ago. And the ACHA Power Play podcast are there as well. We are powered up by the Belly Up Network of podcasts, bellyupsports.com. Check our website out. We've got a complete lineup of the best in podcasts, both audio and video. You can check out a replay of this podcast. Will be downloaded on iTunes, on Spotify, you name it. Check it out right here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Again, we are powered up by Belly Up Sports, and great network of podcasts, great network of writers, you name it. We've got all kinds of great articles, especially with the big game coming up, Super Bowl 57, the big game LVII. Real easy for me to remember because I can. The Super Bowl is the same age as me, so Captain Lou's 57. That means Super Bowl is 57 as well. So we got a good show planned for you tonight. We're going to go solo tonight, kind of an in-between show, if you will, with the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks or a week and a half. We will give you an in-depth look at the game next week. I'll give you my initial thoughts of the contest coming up later on in the broadcast. So make sure that you stick around for that as well. Again, really excited to be here with you tonight. Kind of a last-minute thing. You know, we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. One of my favorite relatives passed away over the weekend, and one of the biggest Michigan fans that you'll ever meet. And so we'll do a little tribute to him a little bit later on. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We know who's in the big game. It's Kansas City, and it's Philadelphia. So it's going to be a great game. I got a feeling. You know, right now, as we speak, it is a 1.5-point spread in favor of Philadelphia. And if I were to bet today, if I had to put my house on it or whatever, I'd go Kansas City. That's just me. But I got a feeling that it's going to be a good game. Kansas City, of course, they won over Cincinnati 23-20. Great game. I know there's a few mistakes in there and some questionable calls by the referees. I'm getting so tired of listening to the referee bashing. You know, anybody who knows me knows that, you know, I'm a ref baiter. A lot worse than I used to be. I came from a family of ref baiters. My dad can do it with the best of them. And growing up, going to high school football and high school basketball games, everybody in the stands could referee a better game than what the referees could down there. But, you know, all kidding aside, The referees didn't cause Cincinnati to lose that game. I'm sorry. They just didn't make the plays. They had the opportunities. They had the ball tied with under 3 to go. Couldn't get the first downs. I'm sorry. They had an opportunity to go down, run the clock out, kick a field goal to win 23-20. They couldn't do it. And I just, I'm tired of hearing about the referees. Don't make the stupid play on the out of bounds play. You don't hit a quarterback when both feet are out of bounds. I'm sorry. And if you can't stop Mahomes, you don't deserve to win. And I love Joe Burrow. I think Cincinnati's going to be there. They're going to be a player for years. This is turning out to be an AFC rivalry that we're going to have to get used to seeing for the next decade. Throw in Buffalo, who to me is going to have to make some changes to stay up there with these two teams in the AFC. But Cincinnati's for real. They're going to be back. But Kansas City, Joe with Patrick Mahomes, he lost Kadarius Toney. He lost Mecole Hardman. They were down to 4th-string wide receivers, and they still got it done. And the defense got it done when they had to. And I don't think their defense gets enough credit. Chandler Jones, to me, is amazing. If he's not one of the best defenders in the AFC, besides Bosa, I don't know who is. And he's proven his worth here this past weekend. Philadelphia is going to have to deal with it. But again, I say, enough with the referee bashing. Please. I'm tired of that. I think Cincinnati, they couldn't get it done. Give credit to the Kansas City defense to stopping Joe Burrow again when they had to. What about that drive? Both teams made fantastic plays. T. Higgins with that catch in the end zone. It was so amazing to me. It was like he just stood up and grabbed it. It with hardly any effort. And then, of course, that pass from Mahomes to Scantling in the end zone. Oh, my God. It was just the guy's magic. And, it's setting up to be quite the dynasty. If Kansas City could pull this one off, you got to start talking dynasty talk. And, if Mahomes wins, I think he wins this Sunday. That'll be 2 Super Bowl wins and 3 appearances in the Super Bowl. I think he's ready for the Hall of Fame already. Now, he's not Tom Brady, not yet, but he's right up there. You gotta say he's top 5, top 10. He's top 10 already in my book, and I know he's young, but 2 Super Bowl wins in 3 tries. If he's even, they're there already, and I'm excited for it. I really am. I think it's going to be a great game. Kansas City's defense is going to be the question. But, I look at the other game. We'll talk about that in a moment. But, what a fun nightcap on Sunday night to be able to watch that. I was able to catch the second half live. I watched the highlights of the first half. It was back and forth. It was riveting. We can only hope that the Super Bowl is going to be that good. And I got a feeling it's going to be. I don't know. I still haven't made my determination on the over-under. But I got to tell you, I'm leaning towards Kansas City in this one, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I like Philadelphia. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a winner. I love both these quarterbacks. I've loved Jalen Hurts. You've heard me say it more often than not. How I've liked his trek from Alabama. I've liked his trek from when he got to Oklahoma and then here to Philadelphia. He's always been kind of doubted. All the guy does is win, and he's smart. And that's what I like about these 2 quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, they're smart. Their IQ is incredible. The athletic ability, Mahomes might have a little bit more, but take nothing away from Jalen Hurts. I think he's been undervalued, underrated. Well, his time has come. He's at the big dance. And, you can't say enough about that. But I look at Kansas City's defense. Can they neutralize Jalen Hurts? I don't see why not. Here's my question. Well, before we get to that Philadelphia game, I want to go back to Cincinnati's game against Kansas City. Here's my question. Why did they talk so much crap about Burrowhead and, the mayor making all that stuff? I understand the mayor, but why did the players give them bulletin board material? I listened to Andy Reid yesterday on, it was Colin Cowherd had him on towards the end of the show yesterday. And I was listening to him. He didn't have to say nothing to the players. The players knew. And it always goes back to, I just, again, I look back at, this is a trend, and people think it's, I don't understand why people do this, why opposing teams do this. I've seen Michigan do it a few times, talk crap about Michigan State in football, in basketball back in the 80s. You see two teams do that. You go out and, before the game and stomp on the 50-yard line, the logo or whatever. Why do you do that? What you think that intimidates the other team? I look at what Cincinnati was talking crap, saying that stuff about Burrowhead and how Burrow owns Kansas City and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, why give them extra incentive? And I think Cincinnati did that a little bit. And I'm hoping they grew up a little bit. I love Joe Burrow. I've said this on the show. I think I don't put it on him. But I look at the team in general, and they think that they can go in there. And it just, why do you add extra fuel to a team that's good, that's been there? And it goes back to me, brag about it maybe after you win. But when you're in the week up to an AFC championship game and you're giving a team extra incentive, a little bit of a chip to put on that shoulder, and you got a team like Kansas City that's been there, they know what it's like to get to the Super Bowl. I don't understand. That's why I picked Kansas City to win. I looked at that throughout the week and I'm thinking, wow. And I was right. I picked both winners last week. Sure made up for 2 weeks ago when I crapped the bed. But both my 6-point teaser locks were money. And I went with the home teams. I think that, I just don't understand that. Cincinnati's a good team. Like I said, they're going to be back. But why give Kansas City any more ammunition? And I think they did. You heard Travis Kelce. It was hilarious. Burrowhead my ass, and, pulling out his rock imitation, calling the mayor a jabroni, know your role. It was hilarious. But, now we got Kansas City and we got Philadelphia, as we mentioned. And, the first thing you ask is, can the Kansas City defense neutralize Jalen Hurts? That's going to be the number one question. And, Jalen Hurts doesn't have to throw the deep ball. He hasn't had a great game in the playoffs. And it kind of worries me a little bit. And, I'm not going to take anything away from Philadelphia that had a great season. But let's take a look at their postseason. And think about what they've done. They played a New York Giants team. And their defense to me had, they had something to do with that first game against the Giants. But, Daniel Jones, you ever see a you talk about a quarterback with the deer in the headlights look. That was Daniel Jones 2 weeks ago against the Eagles. They made him look bad. And, they dominated that. But have they gotten a free ride to the Super Bowl through the playoffs? My question is, have they been tested enough? Now, obviously, last week, Brock Purdy gets hurt right away, right? So they get Josh Johnson in there. And he's not going to do the job. They got him. He got concussed. So Brock Purdy had to go back in. So that raises the question. I'm not taking anything away from their defense, but they haven't faced a quarterback that's been there, that's playoff tested like Patrick Mahomes. Now, this defense is going to be tested. And I don't know if they've been tested enough. What do you think? Leave me a note here, right here. Comment on our, on our YouTube channel. The Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. That's where we're airing right now. Drop me a note on Twitter at The Real Captain Lou. My Facebook page is right there on the bottom at Real Captain Lou. Drop me an email, sweetlou1965@yahoo.com. Have they been tested enough? I don't know if they have been. And that's what kind of worries me about Philadelphia. Their running game, I don't know if Kansas City really has to worry about that. They've got the big playmakers. Jalen Hurts, obviously he's a runner, but I don't know if they've been tested enough. I really don't believe they have. That's my biggest question. And, I think Mahomes, even, if he can get one of those two, if he can get Hardman back or Tony back, watch out. I think Kansas City, a 1.5-point dog, that's a great number. But this is Jalen Hurts' chance. He can play with that chip on his shoulder as well because, he can make history. He can, this is Philadelphia's, this will be their second Super Bowl in 5 years. And, this is his chance to make history. Like I said, we'll see how he handles the big stage. We know how Kansas City handles it. But, how much does that matter? How much does that really matter getting to the big stage if you've never been there before? Some of the younger guys like New York Giants, like Daniel Jones, he couldn't handle it. Philadelphia pummeled him. Cincinnati and Kansas City have been there. A team like Buffalo hasn't been able to get over the hump. They're still kind of snake bit. But this is Kansas City. They've been there. Philadelphia, some of the players have been there. Jalen Hurts hasn't. But, what I like, that's where I think the 2 weeks off is going to be good because they'll get all their prep work in this week. They'll do the fine tuning next week. They can get through the hullabaloo with the media and all that on Monday and Tuesday, maybe Wednesday, with the media day and all that. But I'm interested to see what kind of pass rush they can put on Jalen Hurts, if they're going to make him beat him through the air. Obviously they've got Devontae Smith and they've got A.J. Brown and they've got Dallas Goedert. They got the weapons. So this is going to be a great battle of quarterbacks. I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be a great game. Either way, it's a pick'em game right now. Like I said, it's 1.5. Kansas City is 1.5-point underdog. And I think the over-under is 49.5. So we'll be making our teaser lock picks next week. We'll give you the teaser lock play of the year. We were 2-0 last week. Indeed. I told you to take Philadelphia getting 3.5 points and the under 55, I think it was. Lock. Boom. Shakalaka. And I told you to take Kansas City and the over. Boom. We needed it. It was close, but we got it. So, if you rode the wave like I did, you made some good money last week. And so congratulations. So it was a great week for us. And then I took both home teams. Money line made a little money. Again, I took Philadelphia, given the points, and I took Kansas City given the 1.5. So it was a profitable week, definitely. So check us out next Wednesday night for our teaser locks of the week, as it's our last one of the year for football season. We're going to put it to rest. Next week on the show, we're going to obviously preview the Super Bowl. I've got a Philadelphia fan. He's been on the show before. Mitch Bernstein's going to come on the program. He's mainly our baseball guy, but he's a Philadelphia guy, and I know he's geeked up, and he's going to come on and give us a Philadelphia fan perspective as well. And we'll try to get a Kansas City person on. I know a few of them. So it's going to be a great show, 7 o'clock next Wednesday night. This is kind of a breather week for us, like I mentioned. A lot going on with me personally last weekend. Didn't have time to get any guests lined up. So kind of a chance for me just to talk a little bit on my own about my, watching the games. Super Bowl's always been fun. My first Super Bowl was the first Super Bowl I can remember watching was 1971. It was the one before. It was Dallas winning. Or, I'm sorry, it was Minnesota, Miami winning. And then I remember the perfect season, 72. I remember the first Super Bowl I watched was with my dad down in our basement on a black and white TV on a Sunday afternoon. It was 1971, I believe. It was January 72. So it would have been the 71 season, the 24-3 game. Then, of course, I remember watching in 73, or, the perfect season, 14-7. Garo Upremian trying to kick that or run that field goal where it got with the botched field goal, and how Washington got their only touchdown that way. Some great games, some blowout games, some great games. Never been to a Super Bowl in person. Right now, the pomp and circumstance of watching a Super Bowl game, you're better off just, it's more fun with friends. Obviously, it's more cost prohibitive now than it ever was, but I wouldn't mind going one time. Who knows? Maybe if the Lions make it, we'll go to a Super Bowl. I know it's in Arizona. I think my stepson is down there. He lives down there. I don't think he's going to the game, but I know it's going to be kind of a wild time down there. Maybe I'll give him a call and see what it's like down there next week. But it's going to be a great game. I know it is. I'm really looking forward to it. So it'll obviously 6:30, I think, is kicked next Sunday. So we'll have our Super Bowl preview next week. It should be a good one as well. Tuesday night, we'll have another edition of the ACHA Power Play. Our road to Boston in the national tournament for the ACHA, the American Collegiate Hockey Association, is next week. We're going to be 5 weeks out from puck drop. It's always a good time. We got a big announcement for that next week too. Really looking forward to that. So we'll share that with you. That is Tuesday at 7:00 right here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Powered up by Belly Up Sports, bellyupsports.com. Check out our website. We've got the complete listing of all of our podcasts, and check out our assortment of writers. The articles are fantastic. They're going to be previewing the big game as well. A lot of our podcasts next week from a fantasy standpoint, you name it. Philadelphia fans, Kansas City fans, the big game, it's coming to a head. LVII, Super Bowl 57 next Sunday. We've got all of that previewed and then some. Plus anything else. You got LeBron probably going to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record next week during Super Bowl week, probably at one of the home games. And so that's going to all culminate together during Super Bowl week. So a lot to talk about next week. Who knows? Maybe next Wednesday on the Extravaganza, he will have broken that record. It'll probably be either Tuesday or Thursday at home. And so hopefully he won't whine and complain about not getting a call during that game. But we won't go there with that. Talked enough about the referee bashing here with those football games. I mean, again, I'll just touch on it real quick before we get to our next topic here with Tom Brady retiring. It seems like whenever somebody's teams lose, it's always the referee's fault. That's what it's getting to be. And that LeBron foul on Saturday, yeah, it was a foul, but something brought up. Nobody said anything about him taking 5 steps before he got hacked. The NBA 2-step, 4-step, whatever you want to call it, step. So, LeBron's gotten calls for 19 years or 20 years. I'm getting old. It's boorish, man. Every time he goes to the lane, he gets, if he misses a shot, he's whining. But that's the NBA mantra right now. It's really turning me off. If you don't, so I don't want to hear it. The superstars get the calls. The one time he doesn't get the calls and everybody's up in arms. Get out with that. I'm done with it. I'm done. The referee bashing is so boorish. It's part of the game. Your team gets calls. Your team doesn't get calls. It happens all the time. Nobody's got a bigger bitch than I do about a call costing a playoff than the Lions in Dallas. Our Lions teams go to the playoffs few and far between, and we get hosed. But I'm not going to still lament about it 10 years later. So I'm done with it. So, well, the big fella called it quits. Tom Brady came on this morning on Twitter, announced his retirement. It was short. It was sweet. It was a little emotional, not quite like last year. I am a little surprised. I didn't think he was going to retire. I thought he was going to play another year, but he had a rough year personally. With his marriage breaking up and, the team not really doing as well as he planned. And he's 45 years old. I'm surprised. I'm not shocked. And I got a feeling it's for good. He's not coming back. You can tell. You can kind of read it. I mean, we'll find out in June or August if somebody loses a quarterback. A team is in dire need of somebody. Like if it doesn't go all that great in San Francisco, with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy not being able to participate in off-season workouts now with that UCL tear. He's going to be out 6 to 9 months. They might call him. We know that Jimmy G's not going to be in San Francisco, so who knows? But I just got a feeling this is it for Tom Brady. There's no going back. I think he's done. And you know what? God bless him. He's had a great career. And, it's funny is, excuse me, I listened to a lot of the talk today. It's been, that's kind of been the topic of the day. Obviously, it's huge. But what made him so good? Obviously, you got the 7 rings, but, and all the stats, the longevity, this and that, relatively injury-free. He had the 1 year when he blew his knee out. But, I heard something today, and I agree 110%. I was, God, I can't remember who, anyways, what I heard, and I agree with it, is, he sacrificed, and, he sacrificed his salary for years and years and years. He put winning first. And, other players saw that, and they kind of, that attracted them to him. You could say he was a system quarterback, blah, 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 but he made players better. His work ethic, players wanted to play for him. Players wanted to play with him. And that says a lot. To me, that made him just as good as his longevity or all the stats. That's what got him the rings. And he took less money. He attracted some of the other players to go there. He made them more money in the long run. That's why they wanted to play with him. That's why he was able to get guys like Antonio Brown and Randy Moss and some of the other ones, just to name a few, the goofballs that came, and they won because of him. They won with him. And that says a lot. You don't see Aaron Rodgers doing that. That's one of the big differences right there. Aaron Rodgers has got all the talent in the world. As much as I don't like the guy, he's talented. He's one of the most talented quarterbacks ever to play the game. And I think that what made Tom good was, he sacrificed. And, financially. And other players saw that. They were motivated by that. And, he was the straw that stirred the drink. And it's more evident now, I think, with Belichick not being able to win without him. And, he made a lot of guys a lot of money. And I think that's part of what made him so good. That and his longevity and the way he took care of himself. And he got the 7 rings, which is great. And, he's going to retire as the greatest of all time. Tell me a quarterback that's better, that has matched him. I know a couple of people that don't like him. I know a lot of people that don't like him. You can say anything you want about Deflategate, but no, that's not going to tarnish him. No way. I'm sorry. No. First ballot Hall of Famer. Now the question is what's Aaron Rodgers going to do? He's not going to retire. He's got 60 million reasons this year, 100 million total. He'll probably end up in New York. But this is Tom Brady's time. And he's the greatest of all time. He deserves to retire on his own terms. He's a free agent. I think he's done. I think he's done for good. I would be shocked if he comes back. And there's nothing left for him to prove unless he wants to win an 8th ring. He sure as hell isn't going to go to a team like Houston or Carolina or anything like that. If he goes anywhere, it'll probably be San Francisco, because that division right now is in turmoil. So, anyways, God bless Tom Brady. Congratulations on a great career. I think it's great. He can spend more time with his family. He's a single parent now. And, I think that's his priority. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, congratulations to Tom Brady on a great career. He's thrown for over 50 miles. I was reading one of my friends on Facebook, Greg Chandler. I got to give him credit. He's thrown he's throwing for as many miles as it takes to go from Grand Rapids to Kalamazoo, Michigan. So that's kind of funny. Anyways, that was the stat of the day. I like how he puts those up. All kudos to Greg Chandler for that. Well, everybody thought going into today we were going to all hail Sean Payton going to Denver. That was going to be the story. But he is going to, obviously he was maybe, like I said, upstaged by Tom Brady's retirement today. But everybody's thinking Denver now. Here we go again with the Denver to the Super Bowl talk. They're going to be the first place team. They're going to unseat Kansas City. Sean Payton's the savior. Can he resurrect Wilson and the Broncos? I don't know. Russell Wilson, to me, I think there's some tarnish on that career. Obviously him and Pete Carroll were winning. They were a winning combination in Seattle. But, you get the reports where he wasn't so easy to work with in Seattle, and definitely wasn't that easy to work with in Denver. Now, Nathaniel Hackett was an absolute disaster. I get it. And, now, they had their injuries. What team didn't? So my question number one is Russell Wilson going to be willing to adapt to Sean Payton? Is Russell Wilson, does he have it in the gas tank left? Sean Payton must see it because he wanted to go there. But if you think that they're going to go from 5 wins to 13 wins and get into the Super Bowl, you're nuts. Russell Wilson is not Patrick Mahomes. Russell Wilson is not Joe Burrow. Russell Wilson is not Josh Allen. I don't even think he's Justin Herbert anymore. So there's 2 quarterbacks in his own division that he's not. No, I know Denver's got a very good defense. I get that. And they've got some potential on offense. Cortland Sutton, their running game. I know they had some injuries. I get it. But keep in mind, like I said, you got Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes isn't going anywhere. Justin Herbert's not going anywhere. Who knows who's going to end up in Las Vegas? Could be Aaron Rodgers for all I know. But you've got Josh Allen. You've got Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. You've got, he's going to be about the 5th best quarterback, maybe the 6th best quarterback in the AFC. Now, for Sean Payton's sake, I hope it works out. They're definitely going to be better. I could see him as an 8-win team, 9-win team. And they've got a fairly easy schedule, but they still might be the 3rd best team in that division. And until someone knocks Kansas City off, I don't think it's going to be Sean Payton. Not this year. Maybe in a couple of years. But, hey, that's the big splash. Jim Harbaugh, he didn't want to go. It was weird how they interviewed 5 or 6 different people. And with Harbaugh, let's get the contract signed, will you? I'm getting tired of listening to all my friends and relatives and in-laws giving me crap about Jim Harbaugh. Not surprised, but, anyways. So Sean Payton's there. DeMeco Ryan is going to Houston. I don't know if that's going to work. Now I go back to to what when Jim Harbaugh, or I'm sorry, when Tom Brady first came into the league. I want to go back to that for a minute. When he first came in and broke in and was, it was all defense, this, defense that. Now in 2023, it's an offensive league. The rules are more catered to the quarterback, the wide receivers. I just, offensive-minded coaches are where it's at right now. And I don't know if Houston made the right choice. Ryan is a great defensive mind. I take nothing away from that, from DeMeco Ryan. Houston's starting from the bottom. So maybe they can build that around defense. I don't know. Can he, or is he willing to get an offensive guru in there to work with a good quarterback? We'll have to wait and see on that. That leaves Arizona and Carolina. Who's going to go to Arizona? That's a mess. You got a quarterback like Kyler Murray, so aloof. Obviously, he was injured. Not the most well-respected guy in the locker room. Man, oh man, no, I don't know. And one last thing on the coaching carousel, Kellen Moore out at Dallas, right away going to Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I heard something interesting yesterday when I was traveling back from up north. And everybody's been bashing Dallas, but as much as I like to join them, I kind of like this. What this one idea was, I can't remember who said it yesterday, but maybe they mutually parted. Maybe it was one of those things where Jerry Jones went to him and said, "Hey, after this year, we're going to get a new coach in here, and he's going to want his whole new staff." Now, they had said maybe it was going to be Sean Payton, but obviously that's not the case. So you might want to do yourself a favor, and if you think you can get another OC job to get yourself prepped, take it. Maybe he knew that. And he went to the Chargers right away because it was so quick after he got quote-unquote terminated or whatever. So I got a feeling that him and Jerry, Jerry likes Kellen Moore. And I don't think the parting was all that bad. I think there might be something to that. So now Kellen Moore is at the Chargers. He's going to be the OC there working with Herbert. Happy for him. I think he's going to do good there. I still think you're going to see Kellen Moore as a head coach. Who knows? He could be back in Dallas if they don't do anything next year with the most overrated quarterback in the league, with Dak Prescott. Just a thought. You heard it here first. Kellen Moore, if he has a good year and with the Chargers next year, he could be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. Mark my words. You heard it here first. So, well, hey, it's been a great show. Really fired up for the Super Bowl next week. Kansas City and Philadelphia. Wow. I mean, again, it's going to be here next Sunday, week from Sunday. We'll give you our favorite things to eat for the Super Bowl show. It's going to be a fun show next Wednesday night. Really looking forward to it. We got, and we'll have our Captain Lou teaser lock, our last one of the year, the 6-point teaser lock. We've done really well with that this year. We've made a good amount of money. I hope that for those of you that tailed along with us, you made the good money as well. So, it's really looking forward to the show really looking forward to the Super Bowl next week. Kansas City and Philadelphia. We talked about it earlier. The things that I'm looking at with Kansas City, or with Philadelphia especially, has their defense really been tested? Without taking anything away from them. They weren't tested last week going up against the 3rd and 4th string quarterback. They'll get a true test on Sunday the 12th. That's my biggest question mark. That's why I lean a little bit towards Kansas City. Just, how can you go against Patrick Mahomes? I can't do it. So join us for that next Wednesday night. It's going to be a great show. And of course, we got our ACHA Power Play, our next show next Tuesday night, the road to Boston, coming up here very shortly, 5 or 6 weeks. So want to end the show tonight. Again, I touched about a little bit. I had a close family member pass away this past Wednesday. It was a week ago. I got done with the show last Wednesday, and just before I fell asleep, got the news. One of my uncles, but everybody, I'm sure, has a sports fan in their family that just loves a team, or, that's all they talk about. Well, My Uncle Bob passed away last Wednesday, and he was a Michigan guy. He got me into liking Michigan more than anybody. Well, him and my dad, but my dad kind of wavers. My dad is a Michigan State fan first. Lions first, Michigan State second, Michigan third. But my Uncle Bob was true and blue Michigan. The tattoo, the whole 9 yards. Last summer, I was about a year ago, actually, his cancer came back. And, it was a tough go. We went to Ann Arbor. They've got one of the best hospitals in the world. And, they told him it was going to be a tough go. Well, they found out there really wasn't anything they could do for him. While he was in rehab in Munising last July, Michigan, the football team, as some of you may know, they like to take trips with their teams. They've sent them overseas. They sent them to South Africa. They've sent them to Paris. Well, this past year, the Michigan football team just toured the state of Michigan. They went over on the west side of the state. They went to the Mackinac Bridge. Then they went to Munising, my hometown. That's where my uncle was. Well, they caught wind that how big of a Michigan fan he was. So it was arranged that the team came to see him in his hospital bed. Jim Harbaugh sent him a personal message. The football team came in, took pictures with him. They greeted him. And I swear that it added extra time to my uncle's life. His goal was to try to stay with us and follow Michigan all the way to the end of the year. So that was back in August. Well, we all know the run Michigan had. They made it to the college football playoff, and obviously they didn't win it all, but they sure gave it a hell of a run. And his other goal was to follow the Lions to see how far they could go. Well, the Lions didn't quite make the playoffs, but they were relevant. They beat the Packers twice, and that was good enough for him. Well, he passed away, like I said, last Wednesday night. Biggest Michigan fan I know. So I just thought, if you'll indulge me, I would like to just kind of end the show tonight, if you will, with a tribute to him in the best way that I know how. And that, of course, would happen to be to play the Michigan fight song. So, Uncle Bob, I know you're up there with all of our family, and I know you probably already said hi to Bo Schembechler up there. So this is for you. Hail to the victors, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 235-member Michigan Marching Band. Band, take the field. Sir Jamie L. Nix, the M Fanfare.
Well, Uncle Bob, that's for you, man. God bless you. Rest in peace, my friend. And it's, what a great way to end the show. And a little tribute to you. One of the world's biggest Michigan fans passed away at the age of 69. God rest Uncle Bob. That's going to do it for the show tonight. Join us again next Wednesday night for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. And, of course, powered up by Belly Up Sports and the Belly Up Network of podcasts. We'll be having another edition, as I mentioned, of the ACHA Power Play as well, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, right here on the Captain Lou Sports Network. Hey, it's Captain Lou here, reminding you, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, right here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Good night, everybody.